Boosed contains adult themes and language. Listener beware. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boosed, where we get supernatural and shit-faced. I am here today with the wonderful Erin White.
Hello.
Yes, hello, Erin. And he is going to be telling us a little bit about the Stanley Hotel. Ooh. Insert ghost sound effects.
I know, right?
Yes. So, Erin, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little about yourself.
Where is Aaron right now?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, my name is Erin. I live in Dallas. I really don't know what you want to know about me personally.
Just what you do, what you're into, maybe why you chose the Stanley Hotel.
Oh, yeah. So I'm a comic book guy. That's my my livelihood. But the Stanley is a hotel that I went to just about 3 years ago over Christmas, and I'm not sure. Are you familiar with the Stanley Hotel?
Vaguely.
You know much about it? Yeah.
It's like is it Northwest?
It's
Northeast?
in Estes Park, Colorado.
Oh, so neither of those places.
Yeah, about an hour outside of
My
Denver.
geography is shit. So
No, it's fine.
But yeah, so was it nice snowy looking?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Landscape?
It's beautiful. It's unbelievably beautiful. Estes Park is just gorgeous, and you're up high, so it's hard to breathe. They're selling oxygen containers everywhere. Yeah, so if just $30 you can just get a couple of huffs of oxygen.
That's crazy.
Just to help you out.
Just get you through the day.
Sure, yeah, of course. It's like some people use coffee, some people need canisters of oxygen. That's just
my oxygen inhaler in my pocket.
Just like, trying to get through.
It seems like one of those things like people should not have settled there if they could not breathe freely.
Now this is interesting. The reason that a lot of people moved to Estes Park in the early 20th century was because it was a dry place and it was great for the tuberculosis. If you had the consumption, you either go to the west, like Doc Holliday.
I'm your huckleberry.
Or you go to the mountains.
For the clean
like
air.
Estes Park, yeah.
Gotcha. That does make sense.
Yeah, so one of the more famous people that had issues with tuberculosis was Freeland Oscar Stanley of Stanley Steamer fame.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah. So he and his wife, they moved up there because he was sick, and it was recommended that he go someplace to help clear out his lungs. He went to Denver, and then on the recommendation of another doctor, so the story goes, he moved to Estes Park. He had a pretty fantastic recovery in the area, was very thankful, and ended up building not just a residence for himself, but a larger hotel for his East Coast upper class, middle upper class friends to come out and check it out. So he had presidents come and visit. He had a lot of early 20th century.
Now, did he still have tuberculosis? Because I don't know if I would get that invitation and be like, yeah, let me come to your tuberculosis hotel.
Yeah, no. I think he still did. He lived to be 91. He lived a long time.
So that did clear. The air did help him then.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was pretty effective.
Yeah, because you hear a lot of the stories of they had tuberculosis, so they went out and then they died 2 months later.
Yeah, exactly. And so, apparently consumptives, and I think that's what they're called, consumptives.
Is it It's Satine, right?
Satine. Oh man, if only Satine had been in Estes Park, Colorado,
She might have
that
lived.
story would have been a lot happier.
Her and Ewan McGregor might
Yeah.
have, or McGregor.
Yeah, you
Ewan
McGregor.
McGregor
Oh my gosh.
might have lived happily ever after.
Oh, the whole Moulin Rouge would have been just a totally different scene had they known about Estes Park, Colorado.
Well, it was a bit of a travel.
Yeah. So they built this hotel, and my understanding is that it didn't actually turn a profit till like the 80s.
Oh,
Like it was just like people would come to this hotel, and just kind of check out the scene, the Estes Park scene, and it's beautiful. Like it's legit beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was snow on the ground, there were like elk and moose. I think like moose is like the plural of moose.
it's not meese.
But I saw a giant moose. Like it was enormous.
No, moose are huge. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
a lot of people understand. Like they
Yeah.
are tiny, smaller elephants.
I was surrounded by elk at one point. They were very curious elk. It was very sweet. I was not wearing boots. I was wearing tennis shoes, which
Oh.
is terrible. Don't go out in the cold. I'm from Dallas. I don't know better. I'm dumb. And I went out in tennis shoes, and my feet went numb. And then they went like another notch beyond numb, where it was like pain. It was like pain numb.
So you had hypothermia. That's basically what you're describing.
Basically, I got hypothermia. It was just terrible. I trying to get back to the
You didn't
haunted hotel and like read a book next to the fire, sobbing. It's awful.
You didn't think to like stop and buy boots.
I did not think. I had no idea.
But once you were there, you were like, no, I was like,
I want to make this
life.
work.
Yeah.
I want to make this work. This is gonna be fine. I'm a go-getter.
I feel like that's a dude thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to tough it out.
And I did. I toughed it out
for
until
you.
I lost some toes.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I didn't lose toes.
My feet get cold sitting in my apartment to where my big toe feels numb, so I cannot imagine not having the right shoes.
No, I've got that same thing too. Like that's the best thing about living in Texas is that winter lasts like 2 months and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I hate cold. If it's 100 degrees every day, sign me up. I'm all for it. Because like the least bit of stress, all the blood leaves my extremities and goes right to my chest,
As it should.
and my hands and feet get very cold.
Yeah.
So
You can do the move like they do in Batman. Well, which Batman was it where he's like in the Himalayas or whatever, and he's like, stop rubbing your hands, you should be rubbing your chest. That's Wakanda Forever. He's like, you should be...
Oh, yeah, I'm doing Wakanda
you're
Forever.
doing Wakanda Forever. But like the guy in the movie, he's like, you should be rubbing your chest to keep warm because that's where you want. He's like, forget about your hands and feet. I don't know. That's a
Oh.
weird random story from that movie. So the one thing I took away from that Christian Bale Batman
well,
flick.
good.
The rest was
Yeah.
trash.
Yeah, no,
But that
I
one
learned to
piece of
throw like a
information,
smoke bomb and disappear. That's all I remember.
some far more useful information.
Yeah. Also burned
As
down
long
the
as-
mansion
Oh yeah.
and fear gas. So
Always keep a supply of mansions and gas.
of mansions and gas. That's what you need to be happy, really.
You know,
Yeah.
I think that's it. That's the key.
Yeah. So we were talking about
Yeah, Stanley Steamer
yeah,
Hotel.
Yeah, F.O. Stanley. So he and his wife, they live like a little ways down, but they've got this hotel. And over the years, it's become this haunted attraction, and it's most famous because Stephen King was inspired to write The Shining after staying there. Mm-hmm. He'd gone right after their busy season, and so it's just him and his wife in this hotel. And he was trying to figure out what The Shining, he had apparently a different idea. He was thinking like a haunted amusement park kind of a thing.
Oh, okay.
And he's and so the story goes, it's just him and his wife. They're the only ones in this hotel. And maybe he hears children playing in the hallway. Maybe he wakes up and sees the carpet kind of moving. I think that he said that he ended up going to bed and having this nightmare about his kid getting chased by a fire hose, and it like started him awake.
Oh.
So he goes to the window, smokes a cigarette, and by the time he's done with the cigarette, he's got the bones of The Shining in his head.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so The Shining was inspired by
The hotel.
the hotel, the Stanley. Now, the Overlook Hotel is supposed to not be like any other hotel, but it's clearly inspired because room 217, that's the room he stayed in. So when Kubrick did the hotel, he did a hotel in Oregon. That was the place that they shot it.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's where I got the Northwest idea
and
from.
and then they used sound stages, and I think in like England to do the rest of it. I could be totally wrong on that. Sound stages for a lot of it.
It's okay. Facts don't matter anymore.
They don't matter.
Fake news.
Who cares? But the hotels were like, well, you can't use room 217 because that's going to really upset people, so they changed to room 237 for the movie. But 217 is the room that Stephen King stayed at the Stanley, and so it's the most requested room
Naturally.
that they have.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it all goes into The Shining. It all kind of goes back to The Shining for them because like that's their claim to fame. And in '97, because King famously was not thrilled with Kubrick's vision of The Shining.
Oh, okay, really?
And like Jack Nicholson's portrayal of the caretaker. So when he got a little bit more control, when the TV movie was made.
Yes, that one I do remember watching.
Yeah, it was like 97, I think.
With Rebecca De Mornay.
Yes.
And Louis Gossett Jr.
They shot that at the Stanley Hotel.
Oh, okay.
So if you go to like the bottom floor of the Stanley, there's all kinds of pictures and memorabilia and stuff from that movie and them being there to shoot all that. I say movie, I guess it's a TV show, TV movie.
Yeah. Made for TV movie.
Maxi series.
Yes.
They had a bunch of names for that in like the 90s.
Yeah. I said Louis Gossett Jr., but he was in the original. I don't know. I don't think he was in the TV movie one.
I don't know.
But
I don't remember. It's been a while.
Yeah, I think I saw that one before I saw the original.
Yeah, and when I finally watched the original, I was just so bored. It's so boring.
But it's so like it's kind of.
I know. Stanley Kubrick's a genius. He's so smart.
I mean, I wasn't gonna say that. I just feel like that is such an iconic movie. Clearly, for Stephen King to be like, "Ugh, it was crap." It's very disappointing.
Well, I don't think you're wrong. I think it's like on AFI's top 100 movies of all time.
I'm sure. I mean, it's a well shot movie. I think it's very good it's very good cinematically to look at. It has a lot of great imagery and images to it.
And Jack Nicholson is like amazing. Like,
oh yeah,
like he's totally like just in it to win it.
Shelley Duvall is Shelley Duvall, and
Sweet Shelley Duvall.
Sweet Shelley.
So
Duvall.
is it weird that like Shelley Duvall to me is always going to be olive oil and Popeye?
Oh my gosh.
Is that weird?
No, because mine's even weirder. So my Shelley Duvall will always be fairy tale theater that used to come on like it was either HBO or Showtime. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
I have no idea what that is.
It was Shelley Duvall's. I'm pretty sure it was Shelley Duvall's fairy tale theater.
Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall. Welcome to Fairy Tale Theater.
And it was either on HBO or Showtime, and they would get famous actors of the time. This is probably like early 90s, late 80s.
Oh, wow.
To recreate fairy tale stories. And there was one, they did a version of Cinderella with Matthew Broderick and, what is her, Jessica Biels from Flashdance? Is that the right Jessica?
I don't know.
I always get Beals and Bales
Like you're taking me on this journey,
the woman
and
from
I'm happy to go.
The woman from Flashdance was Cinderella, and Matthew Broderick was the prince. And that has been like probably one of my top favorite Cinderella versions of Cinderella. I used to watch it religiously. Like it was one of those movies as a kid that you just had on VHS tape and you played over and over until your parent like threw the tape in the trash on the down low. But yeah, that's how I know Shelley Duvall. I always relate her to that, and clearly no one ever knows what I'm talking about.
I have no idea, but I'm so excited to learn about this.
Yes, I probably have the VHS in my storage closet right now. We can take it out and try to watch it somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody who owns a VCR, but
I just got rid of my TV that had a VCR a few years.
I mean, we
years
live
ago.
in the future. I'm sure we can figure something out.
Oh yeah, they make like single. Like small VCRs now, I think, just for people who are like in homes and don't know how to use
Yeah,
DVDs.
you know,
or
lonely
streaming.
people who are still watching VCR.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I actually read the book, The Shining, before I saw either of them.
Oh, really?
Actually, that's a lie. I definitely saw the miniseries first, and then later on I read the book, and somewhere in between I saw the original movie or the Jack Nicholson movie. So I've done all three. I have the trifecta. But I remember reading that book and being kind of freaked out. It's definitely a creepy book.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've not read it, but I feel like it's creepy.
Yeah.
I feel like people tell me stories, and I'm like, oh, that's creepy. I can't read
and
that.
it's always kind of, I feel like the story, I think it's in the book where the hedge animals or something about the hedges always moving. Mm-hmm. Like he would turn around and it was kind of like a blinking angels.
Isn't it
weeping
like
angel.
Rose Red?
Oh, I love Rose Red.
Yeah, isn't that like a Rose Red thing where the house is always like
moving and changing
and building itself?
Kind of like that with the hedge. Yeah, hedge maze.
Yeah,
it's like you can't really ever find and then there's like the hedge animals that kind of like sneak up on you slowly when you're not looking.
Okay, so that should be like make a note to put like the Winchester house in.
I love the Winchester house.
Yeah, that should be.
Oh, someone has to do the Winchester house.
Yeah, that's gonna be new podcast. So like put a pin in this, audience.
Yes. Oh, it's coming. Right. That might be like one where I'm drunk myself and tell it because I absolutely love the Winchester house. So when Rose Red, that miniseries came out, I was all about it.
All right, so call me in and I'll host that one, and you be the guest, and you do Rose Red.
Okay, that's right. I've actually been there. Have you been to the house, the Winchester house?
No. No, save it.
Okay,
you got to save it all for the podcast. Okay. I'm so excited.
Sorry, back to the Stanley Hotel.
Okay, so the Stanley Hotel. So, my wife and I went to the Stanley Hotel for our baby moon.
Aww.
Do you know what baby moon is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
But for people who don't know.
Yeah. So you're about to have a baby, and it's your last vacation before you have a child.
Before you never go on vacation again.
Yeah, it's your last chance to have some fun. So my wife was like, all right, I'm full of child. We are going to go on an adventure. And don't worry about it. I've got it all figured out. You're just coming along. Nice. I'm going on an adventure, and you're my partner on this. You're my
like
friend.
This baby, you just have a small part to play.
Yeah. You're my luggage, basically. And so we went to Denver, and then we drove up to Estes Park, and went to the Stanley. And it's like a regal hotel. It looks beautiful, and I imagine it before it was kind of built up around, because there's like this kind of like strip mall culture that's
gross.
built around it,
Yeah.
But I try to imagine it as it was before all that kind of popped up.
Yeah.
Because you look out the windows and you don't really see that. At least the windows where we were, we were on the second floor, the same. We were right down the hall from room 217. And you're sitting in the room, and it's kind of a rustic room. You look at the windows, and like you just see trees, and everything's so beautiful and snow covered, and everyone's just kind of like as happy as you can be when you're cold. They had a bar that was just a wall of whiskey.
Nice dream come true.
Oh my gosh, it was like so many options for whiskey, and a lot of Colorado whiskeys and bourbons and ryes and yada yada yada. Just a lot to go through. So they offer a ghost tour twice or three times a day, several times a day. They have a ghost tour, and we're like, well, we got to do that. And we went up in the mountains at one point, did a tour of the mountains, and got to see like frozen streams, and that was part where I got so cold I couldn't feel my extremities. And then that night we went back and we took the ghost tour. And the ghost tour it's fascinating because you get to see a little. It's mainly like a tour of the estate. So you've got your main estate. You've got a concert hall. And so that's where you go. You kind of start in the main estate. You go to the concert hall. And so the concert hall, I guess, was a gift from Stanley to his wife.
Okay.
Flora, I think her name was. And she was a big music fan. And so people, like, they would have guests come in and, perform for like a, nice audience. And so it's been said that you can hear music because there's a grand piano sitting on the stage that you could hear music coming from the concert hall, and there's no one there. And so we go into the room, and we're all like, we've all got our camera phones going, because we're like, oh, let's see if we can find some orbs, because like that's what they say, like, if you see an orb, that's a ghost. And you're like, well, it could be dust.
Right.
No,
It's not dust. It's never dust.
It's not dust. It's totally a ghost.
It's definitely a
100% ghost. And I'm not getting anything. Like, my pictures all just look
very clear,
dull and crappy. Just nothing. And so we go down to the stage, and the tour guy's like,
Oh my gosh, you guys. If anyone knows how to play piano, I know Flora loves piano, so if anyone can play piano, that'd be really wonderful.
and yes, and that's kind of how she talked. Like, she talked exactly how you'd expect someone who's hosting ghost tours to talk. And at this point, I think half of the people on the tour were like stoned. Like, I think like some people like openly just like smoking.
I mean, because it was legal then.
Yeah. It's still legal. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're like just openly smoking joints, smoking bowls. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I get up and I sit down at the piano, and I just, like, Moonlight Sonata. That feels appropriate. So I start playing Moonlight Sonata. And this one guy, like, yelled out some kind of stoned thing, like, oh, it's creepy and inappropriate. You know, whatever they yell.
Whatever stone people yell.
Yeah, whatever stone people yell. And so as my wife is taking pictures, and she's taking pictures of me playing at this piano, and it's a beautiful piano. And I just played for like not long, maybe like less than a minute, and then I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm kind of creeped out. And my wife runs up and she's like, look, and there's a picture on the phone, and there's like me, and like I'm standing, or I'm sitting, and I'm playing, and all of a sudden, like the next picture, there's a shadow of a woman on the wall behind me, and the next picture is gone.
Shut up.
And it's clearly like the thing, like she's been like just like hitting the button.
Yes, rapid flash, yeah.
And then like nothing, shadow, nothing. And I was like, oh, you got to send that to me. She's like, I'm going to. And then like she like dropped her phone in the toilet the next day.
Oh,
and,
no.
like the phone. So there's no evidence of that. So
What?
because that's how that goes,
Of
right?
course. The ghost did it. The ghost totally dropped the phone in the toilet.
That happened to me in New Orleans. This is a sidebar. There was this. Did you watch American Horror Story when they were in New Orleans? Mm-hmm. And that house, the house with the
Lullery
yeah
mansion, yeah.
Yeah. So we went to
bitch.
that mansion, and when we took a bunch of pictures outside of that, and I had this picture that was like a bunch of smoke, because like we stood there like with a tour for like 20 minutes, nothing. Then all of a sudden, at the same time, everyone goes, whoa! And we got like a bunch of orbs and like smoke and stuff all at once, and then nothing. And I was like, Ashley, my wife, I'm like, Ashley, we gotta hold on to this. And when we got back to the room, and like all the pictures are gone except for that one. No, wait, that's not right.
Strike that. Reverse it.
All the pictures were there except for that one. And that picture was gone.
What?
So it was the same thing. Like we get this picture of like the spooky shadow at the Stanley, and it's gone. I'm like, okay, whatever, that's fine. No one's gonna believe that. That's kind of weird, and it doesn't mean anything anyway, right? So we go through the tour, and we go down under the concert hall, and the tour guide's like, oh, well, this is where so-and-so lives. She was on tour with so-and-so, but she passed away, and her spirit stayed here. And at this point, like, dudes are, like, openly mocking this whole thing.
Oh.
It's like, you know, it's
rude.
It's rude, but also kind of just demoralizing, and, like, just play along, you dummies. You know, we're trying to, you know,
Like you paid to be here.
Yeah. And one thing that they do at the Stanley with the ghost is that they give everyone a sucker. You know, a Dum Dum. It's like a little sucker, and you put it sucker side down in your hand, so the stem is sticking straight up, and you hold it in your hand, right? And you balance it. And they say if a ghost comes up, they'll knock the sucker over. And so you got a bunch of dummies like me walking around holding suckers, waiting for a ghost to knock it over. So we go back in. We go through like the billiards room, where there's supposed to be some kind of a supernatural thing, and no one sees anything. We go into the next room, which is another like ballroom, and they show us like a flag, and like, or on this flag, this new flag went up in 2008, and as you can see over the years, Mr. Stanley's face has begun to appear in the flag.
Oh.
And you're like, I don't think. I guess it looks like a face. I don't.
It's like Mary in your toast.
Yeah. It's like I don't know. I don't know about that. And so we're kind of going through, and it just feels kind of. It's not a letdown, but it's.
It's not up to the hype.
Yeah. It's not up to the hype. Like, you didn't see Ghost, so you're kind of like, oh well. What do you expect, right? You expect to see a ghost every Ghost tour?
Absolutely. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, of course not. No, certainly.
Like, I wish that makes a lot of things easier.
Yeah.
I guess. So we're but it was a nice tour. It was a very nice tour, and the lady who was the guide she was very nice. And my wife and I walk up, and we're like, thank you, because and also I could feel like she was kind of put upon. Like, she had a bunch of stone dudes who were just being real jerks, and she's just there to tell people how to commune with the dead. I mean, just let her do her job, right? The poor lady. I felt really bad, and so my wife and I walk up, and we're like, hey, thank you so much. Thank you for doing this. We really enjoyed ourselves. You're a very good tour guide. And she goes, thank you so much. And she grabs my wife like on the shoulder, and she's like, just so you know, your energy is amazing. And she like gestures to her stomach. She's like, this energy here would play so well on the 4th floor with the children.
What?
Go to the 4th floor and you'll find 2 chairs facing each other in the hallway. Sit in those chairs and speak to the children, and I suspect that they will speak back. And like, she disappears like a ghost. It was crazy. So
Wait, she really said all that?
she said all that. Yeah, no, seriously.
No.
She said all that.
What? What?
And so she leaves, and my wife and I are like, well, we got to do this. Like, we 100% have to do this. So we go to the bar where they've got the wall of whiskey, and I bought an old fashioned, and it was delicious.
I love them.
And she got a glass of water. She's pregnant.
Oh, true. It's
And
like,
so-
ugh, boring.
Yeah,
Oh, but
no,
she's
it's not
pregnant.
boring.
Got it.
So we go to the 4th floor. Go to the 4th floor, and we find the 2 love seats facing each other, like she said. I don't know if she said they're love seats, but they were love seats. And they're facing each other in this hallway. And so I sit down in one, and she sits down in the other. And I get at the sucker, and I put it in my hand, and I balance it on my hand. And she gets out her phone and puts on the camera. And we start talking to children, like you talk to children, like, hey, how's it going? How are you guys? Great. I hope you guys are having a great night. Do you guys like trains? Trains are so fun. Do you guys play in the snow?
All ghost children love
Snow?
trains.
I don't know. Like, I don't know how old they are. Like, trains are fun. Choo-choo trains? Who doesn't like choo-choo trains? I don't know. And I imagine, like, if they're from, like, the 40s, like, choo-choo
That's
trains
all
has
you
gotta
have
be,
is
like,
trains.
so amazing. Like, did you guys see those choo-choo trains? Holy cow. Like, they're just moving as if by magic. So, like, you like trains? You like snow? Do you make snowmen? Oh, snow's amazing. And we talk, and so at this point, Ash and I were just talking. We're just talking back and forth. And it's kind of fun. We're just having a nice time, and maybe 10 minutes passes, maybe 15, and I feel something in my hand. I look down, and the sucker's in my hand, and I've got it balanced, and so the stem is facing up, and I've got the candies in the palm of my hand, and it kind of shakes, and it falls over, and it stops itself halfway, and it just starts spinning clockwise. And it's spinning, and I'm pointing at it, and Ashley's like, she's got her phone, and she drops it, and she's trying to get her phone to take a picture of it, and it spins, it makes a full rotation, and then it falls out of my hand.
Shut up.
And Ashley's like, get the fuck out of the chair! And she physically pulls me out of the chair, and is it okay if I swear?
Yes.
Okay. And she pulls me out of the chair, and she puts the sucker in her palm, and she goes, take pictures! And so I take her place, and I get her phone, and I get the camera ready, and we start again. And nothing. And we're talking, and we're talking to the kids, like, we're imagining how you talk to kids. I mean, we're at this point, we're not parents. We don't know how to talk to
Right.
children.
Right.
And
You like gladiator movies?
yeah, well, and one of the kids was named Michael. I remember there was a kid named Michael, and so we're like talking to Michael. We're trying to like remember the names that she told us because she gave us like a couple of names, and we're sitting there and nothing, and like 10 minutes later, nothing, and I'm like, I think what was going to happen happened. She's like, oh, okay. So we get up and we thank the children. We're like, thank you guys so much. Thank you for playing with us. Have a great night. And afterlife, I guess. And we get up and we leave. And we walk over to the elevator. It's one of the old-timey elevators. It's got like the chain link sliding.
Love it.
Chain thing. So we get on the elevator. The gate, thank you. We get on the elevator and we look at each other and we go, did that just happen? And in her hand, she still had the sucker. It fell over, and then it stood back up, and then the gate closed. And that was our Estes Park supernatural thing.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
That's bonkers.
Like, so that was where we're like, oh, okay, there's something going on here at the Stanley. Stanley's a little bit spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we got back to our room, and we're like, oh, and we're just like amped up. We're like, ooh, spooky stuff's happening here at the Stanley. We're like, I wonder if anything spooky going to happen in our room. And then my wife's like, look, and I see something moving, and I jump, and it's just a mouse. It's just a dumb mouse was in our room.
Just an infestation.
Just a regular old mouse. It wasn't even a ghost at all.
So, one, I don't know if I would stay after that encounter. Pretty sure I definitely would not stay after mice are in my room.
Well, it wasn't like mice. It was just a mouse. It was a singular mouse.
But still, most people, like, you check into a hotel and you find a mouse or mice, and you're kind of like, maybe I want my money back. Let's find
I don't know.
somewhere.
It's an old haunted hotel. What do you want? I mean, and it's cold outside. Like, that mouse deserves to be warm.
Honestly, I would have been more upset if it was like a roach. A mouse, I probably would have been like, oh, can you like
And
sew
it
my
had a really
clothes?
long tail with like a little furry ball at the end.
Oh.
It was like a Pokemon. It was more, I think we saw a Pokemon. It wasn't even a mouse. It was a Pokemon that lives in that hotel.
There's definitely a water Pokemon with a little ball at the end of its tail that looks like a mouse.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It lives at the Stanley. So if you got to catch them all, yeah, grab your Pokeball and head to the Stanley.
It's a very big, hot Pokemon ground.
Yeah, no, that's my recommendation.
You're going to have all the people who are still playing Pokemon Go running up to the Stanley Hotel.
Gotta catch them all.
Pokemon. Oh, I know too many people who still play that game.
No, it's fine. I've got nothing against it. I mean, that game just got to be too hard.
Yeah, it was really, like, I only had one park near my house when it came out that I could go to. There was like 2 parks. And so it was definitely the same Pokemon all the time. And then the park had really crappy reception for some reason. So my phone didn't even work half the time I was in the park. And I didn't have the kind of dedication to go to new places.
Well, they want you to be friends with a bunch of people and then meet up with those friends.
It's not gonna happen.
Like, yeah, I'm not gonna indoctrinate my friends into Pokemon.
Although I am pretty sure I was driving to a rehearsal one day, and this was not long after the game came out, and I saw a group of people. They were maybe late 20s to mid 30s, and they were all on their phones, and they were all kind of like walking in a group. And I was like, huh. So I pulled up the game on my phone, and of course there was like a gym right there. And I was like, okay, so y'all are out like in broad daylight and this large group of like 10 or 12 playing Pokemon Go.
Nerds.
As adults. Yeah, I was like, that's a little... And apologies to the people I know who still currently play that, who are adults and who actually literally go around.
No, they know.
I love you all.
They walk out and they've got a little bit of shame. They're like, I'm a confident adult playing Pokemon, but also I know that this is weird.
Well, I know we both know one person who does, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
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 He's a lovely person.
Hey,
but his Pokemon addiction is a little...
You know what? If you love Pokemon, like, who am I to say that that's wrong?
It's true. There's a saying, there's a podcast I was doing, they say, I won't yuck your yum. Which basically is like, I won't poo-poo on the things that make you happy.
I won't yuck your yum. That's a catchphrase I'm never going to say again.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. My nephew has a really great catchphrase that I'm trying to get to catch on. It's, you're a bum in my butt.
I got a coworker who's got a catchphrase. He says, "Why is that?" And that's his catchphrase.
It's like you watch too much Family Matters growing up.
Yeah, no, he thinks it's a really strong catchphrase.
Oh, poor baby.
Like, all the time. You know, because, like, you're in the office and someone does something dumb, and you're like, let me vent, and then he turns and he goes, "Why is that?"
Wow. I feel like he watched a little too much Seinfeld.
Oh, he loves Seinfeld.
There you go. That's
There
where
you
it comes from. Because
There
doesn't
you go.
Seinfeld have that, what is it with, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Kind of, that's my Seinfeld.
Wasn't that early Seinfeld? Why?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was all very observational comedy, but it
Yeah.
all started with that one line of like, what is it with blah, blah, blah. Bagels.
What's the deal with glass? You can
Yeah,
see
exactly.
through it, but you can't breathe it like air.
Yeah, that's Seinfeld's
That
biggest bit.
doesn't make any sense. Stop it, Seinfeld.
So, are there famous, do you know, like, what the most famous kind of hauntings, like, is the actual hotel, or, like, clearly the actual hotel is really haunted, but, like,
Yeah,
what's
well,
the, like,
No, it's in terms of, like, hauntings, I don't know, that's the thing, it's like no one talked about, like, oh, specifically, like, oh, so-and-so was murdered in this hotel.
oh, see, that's all the good stuff.
I think that it's just one of these things where it just stuff accumulates. People accumulate, and spiritual energy accumulates. So it seems the stairwells, that's where a lot of people get pictures of ghosts, is on the stairs,
Okay.
on the front stairs. And recently, like in the last year, there was a big deal that someone got a picture of like this phantom dude standing on the stairs watching people come in.
I feel like stairs is a recurring theme for a lot of hauntings. Because I know there's a few, like, stories, and when you go, they're like, ooh, if you look at the pictures online, they're in the stairwell, they're over by the stairwell, or they always heard balls or steps up and down the stairs. So I wonder if stairs are like a literal passageway or portal to something else.
Yeah, and it seems like...
Stairway to heaven.
Oh, there you go. It seems like for haunted places, a lot of haunted places I hear about are places where there's a lot of emotion spent. So, like, theaters are haunted,
Yeah.
and hotels are haunted, and you get some houses that are haunted. But you don't really get you don't hear about, like, you know, St. Presbyterian Hospital, super haunted. There are ghosts everywhere in that hospital. You never hear that, right?
Unless it's like an asylum, like an old asylum.
Yeah, old asylums.
Where, like, it was
or old-
torturous.
Yeah,
kind
like
of,
psych wards or whatever. But, like, you don't hear about, you know, places that, like, they're like, oh, that's old Joe's hospice. Full of ghosts. You don't ever hear that. And so I don't think it's...
Or the trailer park is real haunted. It's just
Yeah.
very...
So I don't think it's necessarily about people dying there. I think that it's about, like, a lot of emotion that's spent. And I think that, yeah, so a psych ward, yeah, there's going to be a lot of emotion that's spent. Or, like I said, a theater, a lot of emotion is spent.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something maybe to that, rather than just someone dying in the place.
Gotcha.
That's my perspective on it.
No, we'll take that as fact. It's
Okay.
absolute truth.
Great.
Anything said on this podcast is absolute truth. No,
Great.
just kidding.
Well-
Just kidding. Please take everything with a grain of salt. I do not want to be sued. So I'm really intrigued by the Dum Dum candy. Did she explain why, like, Dum Dums? Is that, like, something very specific? Is it just specific to the children, or was
No, I
it...
think it's easy to balance in your hand.
Oh, okay.
It's
Gotcha.
just
Because their
like,
wrappers are very kind of like...
yeah, it's a cheap thing that's easy to balance in your hand, and it's like a gimmick.
It's an economical device to
Well,
channel
and I
ghosts.
think it's one of those things that, like, all right, so if this gets knocked over, well, people are gonna, you know, be stoned apparently, and they're gonna trip, and it's gonna fall over and be like, oh my gosh, a ghost knocked it over. I don't think that they get many stories where the things spin in people's hands.
Yeah, that seems to be a less likely occurrence.
Yeah, so that was... Yeah, so I think that's probably what it is. It's just like that's kind of probably a little tradition they started there. and it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I think that our experience with that is probably not typical.
That's so crazy. Was there like any other, like the stereotypical cold spot? Did you feel anything
No.
else while it was happening?
No, none of that. I mean, maybe.
Right.
I mean, that's
You were still frostbitten from your ice.
I was frostbitten.
Your hand was already cold.
There was a lollipop spinning in my hand. Like, what more do I need?
This is true.
Like, I don't need, like, an apparition to, like, show up, like, spinning it. Like, do you like it when I spin your lollipop? You know, I don't need that. That's
Like some old-timey.
By the way, that's how old-timey children talk to me.
Like a weird
They're-
old version of Willy Wonka.
First the lollipop falls down, then it stands back up. That's... God, that's a mess.
Your career in voiceover is going to take off after this.
Oh, man.
You should put that on your demo reel.
Yeah, people are going to hire me.
I love it.
Stop.
It's really good.
Get me in your booth. Cartoon people.
Cartoon. It's anime. Thank you. It's not
There you go.
cartoons.
Anime,
Okay.
there you
Be very specific about that. Okay, thanks.
go.
Love them.
But yeah, so that was that time at the Stanley. So it's it's fascinating. And like I said, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful hotel. So I would recommend everybody go and check it out. Even if you don't see a ghost, you will not have enough oxygen. And it's very pretty.
You're likely to hallucinate a ghost, even if
So-
there's not one,
right.
because your brain is deprived of
Right.
oxygen.
So what more do you need?
I mean, it sounds great.
No,
It
it was
sounds
beautiful. Like I'd recommend everybody go to the Stanley. It was really wonderful. We had
Yeah.
a great time.
I know a couple of people who have been, and yeah, I don't think they had the same ghost stories, or not that I've heard so far, but definitely that it's just very serene and picturesque and a really great stay.
And it is, yeah. They do a great job there, and everyone there was really sweet. So,
Awesome.
but also it's haunted.
It's super haunted.
So haunted.
Oh gosh.
Well, and it's weird. You walk in the lobby, and they've got like the original Stanley steamer, like steam powered car in there or something. But they've also got like the twins from The Shining. They've got like a wooden cutout of them, and you like with holes so you can put your faces in, so you can be the
What?
twins. And I'm like,
That's a bit.
no, I don't like that.
It's a bit much.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you didn't see like blood coming from
No, there. Like I opened the elevator, no
Nothing?
blood poured out.
nothing at all.
Yeah,
That's disappointing.
I don't know. I mean,
Is it
like,
worth it if it's not gonna like shower blood on you from the elevators?
I don't know, man. Like, it's hard enough to clean like a spot of blood out of your clothes. Can you imagine like a whole flood of blood coming at you?
No,
Those
you
clothes are ruined.
Yeah,
You can't
no,
even give
just
them the
burn them.
goodwill. Like they don't even want it. They're like, is that blood over the whole clothing? No.
There's not enough bleach
Yeah.
in the world to get that out.
Burn them.
Burn them. I mean, that's what most criminals try to do, don't they? They like try to burn their bloody clothes.
Didn't Lizzie Borden do that?
I think so. I mean, but she was acquitted, so
She was acquitted, but she was also rich. She was rich AF.
rich privilege.
Yeah. Well, because her dad was rich, because he was an undertaker.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know he was an undertaker. I
Yeah.
heard that
He was
before.
an undertaker who would use suspicious means to fit bodies into
Ooh.
coffins and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, goodness.
Boy, Lizzie Borden, yeah. That's a kooky thing. So, I work in auctions, right?
Yes. Well, I know that. Our listeners probably don't.
Oh, I work at an auction house, and that was one of the first things I saw when I came to work was they give tours to walk you through the different departments and introduce you to people. And one of the guys was like, "Yeah, I'm working with this collection. That's Lizzie Borden's clock over there, and it's got blood on it from her parents."
Sold for a buck.
And I'm like, "What? You're allowed to sell that? Shouldn't that be in evidence somewhere?"
Should we be swapping that for DNA?
Yeah. You can't sell that. And we did sell it, and it sold for like $600.
No, that's cheap.
Like
Really?
no one, yeah,
That's
no
it?
one, like I guess like people are like, "Pfft, I don't want that.
Old news.
It's-
Lizzie
it's-
Borden is so early 20th
That
century.
that clock may not work, and also it's covered in blood."
But the whole like nonchalant way he described, no, that's Lizzie Borden's clock. It's covered in blood.
Oh yeah,
Very-
like you get jaded though. Like in the auction business, you see so many things like you just
Really?
get jaded. Oh yeah, like we walk through one of our facilities and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's a guillotine that was used in the French Revolution, and that's a couch that Marilyn Monroe had sex on." and just walking through and people are just pointing stuff out, and you're like, "What mind blowing stuff do you have in this place? Is this secured? Is this like a secure bunker? Or you
That sounds so amazing. They should give tours of the auction house. Do they?
No,
Oh, that's
because
sad.
our insurance wouldn't allow it.
Oh, boo.
Insurance. No, it's amazing, like the stuff that people have held on to.
I know. Now I'm really sad that I didn't get the job there when I applied.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Remember you like tried to help me get
No, I did.
get hired there.
Yeah. No, it's for the best. It's I don't know. I don't know why. It always is. Always
It's just
for the
always
best,
for the
right?
best. No, absolutely. All things happen in time and for a reason. So
I think so.
for sure.
Sure.
So yeah. So do you think? So I find it very, very creepy that the lady referenced your baby, and I won't say your baby's name on air. About
Oh yeah.
the energy, like
Oh yeah. No, she was very clear. Like she was like, "Lady, you are full of a baby, and your being full of a baby makes you a child ghost magnet."
well, do you know, like that's actually like a. I don't. Well, maybe she was drawing from the fact that it's a thing. I don't know if your wife experienced that, like small children wanting to always be around her while she was pregnant.
No.
Really?
I mean, not that I'm aware. I mean, maybe she did, and she never gave that information to me.
Yeah, because I feel like that's sort of like a thing or an old wives' tale or whatever. But if for pregnant women, I feel like very frequently small children are more drawn to them. Of course, living children I'm talking about, not the dead ones, not the ghosts. But like they're more drawn to them for whatever reason. And you have kind of like two categories, either the children who like just really want to be around you because you're pregnant, and they're kind of like just, they maybe don't understand, because this is like younger, like 5 and under, like they just don't understand that you're pregnant and what's going on, but they feel that energy. And then there's the children who like want nothing to do with you, and they're just kind of like, you know, kind of how like dogs can sense if you're evil or not. But so I feel like that's so weird. And it makes sense though, then in that case, that a spirit child would be drawn to someone. And you hear like, I think I hear a lot that with other ghost stories where if the person's a mother and they're in or even just a woman, and they're in a place where there's a lot of child spirits.
Right.
The child spirits are drawn to them, and they'll like feel the child holding their hand or like being near them or wanting to get a hug from them. So that's so creepy though.
So here's my question. If that's the case, why did the thing spin in my hand and not in hers?
Oh.
Why did the ghost play with me first?
Yeah. I know. Are you like fun dad? Or are you disciplinarian dad?
Oh no, I'm so fun.
Maybe they were big enough.
Like I'm great. Like I'm great. Like I'm not speaking out of turn here. I'm sure if my kid was here, he'd be like, "Daddy is great," and it's true.
Yes, so humble too.
Oh yeah. There's 2 things I can tell you. A, I have fantastic hair.
Beautiful.
Yes.
B, I'm a terrific dad. Super fun.
Mm-hmm. I believe both of those things.
Yeah. Mommy, though, she's the one who's like, "Put that down. Stop running with that in your mouth. Go to bed."
Like looking at the general health and welfare of the child as opposed to...
Whereas I'm like, you keep that in your mouth as long as you want to, honey. It doesn't matter where it's been. If it makes you happy...
Does it bring you joy?
Yeah. You just chew on that until you're done.
Yeah. That's a very, I feel like a very dad approach to child rearing.
And that's how I roll.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I don't know. I'd feel so creepy. So does your child, have they had any experiences that you could maybe, like, that you've noticed since? Because I know they say, like, children are very good conduits.
Oh, yeah,
for, like, seeing...
and they say that all the time. And I have been very aware of that, and I've been watching for it. Mm-hmm. And I've decided that that's not happened.
Okay.
Because, like, he'll point to stuff, and I'm like, oh, it's a ghost, No, he just really likes the wall. You know? It never turns out that it's like a ghost
An actual
thing.
ghost, yeah.
Well, and our house is just not haunted.
That's
We just don't have like spiritual energy in our house. And I mean, it's an old house. It's a really old house. It's 100 years old. But like it's been gutted and torn out so many times. I think like whatever like spiritual residue, like psychic energy was in there, it's just been blown out.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of a blank slate
Gotcha.
that we're putting on it.
You mentioned, and this has like nothing to do with anything we were just talking about. So, but when you just said like the psychic energy, it made me think of what we were talking about earlier, of like what a ghost may be. And I thought of how you hear stories of specifically like twins or like multiple children and or parents or people who are like very deeply bonded or in love. They'll be like, I just knew. Or I just got this feeling like at the same time that they were in trouble or they were sick or that they had died or, they were hurt. And so, I mean, I feel like if we recognize that that's a possibility, that kind of intuition, that we're definitely saying that there is some sort of psychic energy that goes out and that links us all that may be residual.
Sure.
And kind of explain why there's spirits or ghosts and whatnot.
Yeah, and I don't think that's wrong at all. Like, I think that there's a lot of stuff that's just sort of not understood. My last house, I used to see weird stuff. There was a family that lived there before us, and then they lived there for years and years and years. And I think like 2 people died in the house, and then the third one left. But I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd see a lady in the corner of our room. And this happened like 2 or 3 times. I'd wake up and by the window, there'd be kind of a lady and she'd be, this kind of ghostly lady standing. And I was like, oh, well, I'm imagining that's imaginary. And, I go back to sleep. And one night I wake up and I see the ghost lady over in the window. And she looks over and she sees me. I'm like, oh, whoa, no. And I remember turning and closing my eyes. And turning my right. And I felt something and I opened my eyes and I looked. And she's right over me. Like she's looking right at me. And I didn't know what to say. And so I said, don't look at me. And I closed my eyes. And I opened them and she was gone. And my wife rolled over and said, don't do what? And I said, nothing. Go to bed. And then I never saw the ghost lady again. And I feel like I hurt ghost lady's feelings.
You totally hurt her. She was just watching over
She was
you.
she was just like being like, what's up? Hey, I didn't know you could see me. Let's just have a conversation. I've been a ghost for a while. And I ruined it. I feel real bad about it.
Could have been your new best friend.
Well, I mean, like, I'm sure she'd just like to be like, so what's going on in the world right now? Who's president? I don't know. Is it Grover Cleveland still? So I kind of ruined that and I feel bad about it.
That is funny. I don't even like I've not had, or I don't believe I've had, again, any like paranormal experience. Not one that's like I would point to as being like, oh, this absolutely happened to me. I think one time I might have seen a UFO, but did I really? Or was it a satellite?
Right.
So I don't know how I would react. Like, I don't think I'd be cool at all. Or it's like the whole lollipop in the hand. I would have lost my freaking mind. I feel like you know what? Okay, that was great. I want to go home now. Like I'm done. I don't want to stay here. I'm not okay anymore. And especially like I'm already like paranoid and like we were talking like having bad dreams and like freaky serial killer stuff. Like if I woke up and someone was standing over I've punched people in my dreams.
Yeah.
Where I have physically swung And like I nearly broke my wrist once doing that, like where I physically swung at someone who I was punching in my dream.
Oh my gosh.
And I hit my headboard of my bed and like woke up with a really sore wrist the next morning. I feel like if that happened, like I keep a knife in my nightstand, like I would hurt someone.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
It'd be like Wolverine in the movie, like the first X-Men movie where he
where
stabs Rogue.
Yeah.
That would be me. Like I would end up like stabbing myself.
That's so dangerous.
That is very dangerous. But
So maybe it's good that you do not see ghosts.
maybe it is. Crazy.
I don't know. And yeah, the whole ghost thing though, it's so what is it?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with that? And I've got like a few things that have happened, but I feel like it's so infrequent.
Yeah. You have any more like what else has happened to you or?
Oh, I mean, like that's the thing is like those are the big things,
Mm-hmm.
And it's been about though, like I said, opening yourself up. Like I get open, open my perspective and try to open my perspective to the world and things, but like that's dangerous because
You could be letting in the bad.
yeah, you don't know what you're letting in.
Yeah.
And so it's easier to close yourself off from the world.
Mm.
So, it's hard to know what the right thing to do is. Do you open yourself up or do you close yourself off?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, one day you're going to die anyway, so what does it matter either way?
Very true. And on that note, I guess. Well, I would like to thank you for being my guest this evening.
Of course, yeah, my pleasure.
And for a wonderful story.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, it's fun to talk about. Like it's just a weird thing.
Awesome. Well, so is there anything that you would like to promote, either yourself or projects or places or anything you just like? Keep in mind, this is like probably going to come out in September.
Yeah. Well, people in the future, I'm probably gonna have something that I haven't told you about yet. So I'll tell you about it in the future.
Yeah, I'll probably add on a little thing to the end of these to like plug whatever you're in. So
nice.
I'll let you know before the episode comes out and all that.
Nice.
So you can get your plugs in.
Oh, get the pugs in.
Oh, plugs.
No, I just
Puggy
heard pugs.
pugs,
I just
yeah.
heard pugs. I love pugs.
Perked up.
I love pugs so much.
I won't hold that against you.
You shouldn't. They're so adorable.
Okay. I won't yuck your yum.
800-SEAMER 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 Stanley Steamer, the carpet cleaner.
Thank you for listening to Boosed. Our theme was composed by Vincent Parrish. Sound production is done by Sydney Johnson. You can find us on social media at Boosed Pod. That's BOOSED Pod. If you would like to support the show, please go to patreon.com/boostpod to make a contribution. Thank you for listening. And don't forget, get boozed.
Cleaner.